Spaghetti. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the business meeting of the Cave Creek Unified School District. Today is October 14th, and it is 6 p.m. Item 1.2, the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everybody please stand for the pledge, which will be led by this month's student leader, Braden Voiles. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1.3, roll call. Members of the board that are present are Member Moore, Member Walker, Member Fortney. Jackie Ulmer is absent, and members of the cabinet that are present are Dr. Pletnick, Dr. Jensen, and Dr. Hendrickson. Item 1.4, formal adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any changes?
Just poll 3 point, which one am I at? 3.6.
3.6?
Enrollment?
All right. And where do you want to place it?
Wherever you would like.
After action consent?
Why not?
Okie dokie. Any other changes? That's it? Okay.
It's my favorite topic.
All in favor of the agenda as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 1.5, President's Report. Well, since last meeting, I have not attended anything in the district. I actually had to go out of town for my mother's 96th birthday, so I was not here. So that's my report. Item 1.6, board comments.
Go ahead.
Is this always
ahead.
This is the rotation? All right.
Yep.
So a few things during this little time. I got to go to a lot of football games and checked out our new turf, which looks phenomenal. So it was good to see football's making a turn. Attended 2 capital raise committees. I'm excited for what they're going to be presenting here soon to all of us. I think there's some great ideas and some ways that can help the district move forward. Had some fun parking cars at the football game. Met with Dr. Pletnick. We got to talk numbers because that seems to be my new favorite thing. And then went and met with Director Suter, hung out in transportation for a little bit. It's a fun balancing act over there still in transportation, but they're doing a good job. And it's nice to see that they're getting some support over there and some new hires. And then met with Dr. Henderson and got a good lesson in HR functions for basically staff versus, I don't want to say classified versus non, safest way to put it, and just got an understanding of how that works in relation to our last board meeting. So that's what I've been up to.
Okay.
I too have attended a football game, and it is nice to see that new turf. And then also did get to celebrate our Employees of the Month at breakfast a couple weeks ago as well.
Very good.
For me.
I actually don't have anything this time, so.
Okay. Very good. Item 1.7, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Dolezal apologizes for his absence while he attends to an out-of-state family matter. This evening, it is my pleasure to introduce the Student Leader of the Month. On the dais with us, Braden Voiles, a 5th grader from Desert Willow. And before Braden concludes the superintendent's report, Dr. Hendrickson, I believe, has a few things he'd like to say.
President Greer, thank you very much. And as again, Mr. Dolezal apologizes for his absence, but not much in the report today. We'll talk about some upcoming events as it is homecoming week here at Cactus Shadows High School. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Braden.
Hello, my name is Braden. I am a 5th grader at Desert Willow Elementary School. I enjoy playing soccer, wrestling, and playing the piano. This year I am a member of Roadrunner Patrol. I get to help other students get in their cars safely after school. I like Roadrunner Patrol because I get to meet more students in my school. I have been in the Spanish immersion program since kindergarten. Mis maestras son muy buenas. Me encanta mi escuela. Gracias y adiós.
Awesome. Thank you, Braden. All right, item 2.1 are October Students of the Month. It is with great pride that we gather to celebrate our exceptional Students of the Month. Each month, we recognize students who embody our district's core values: perseverance, leadership, compassion, and excellence. Tonight, we honor not just academic achievement, but the qualities that shape these students into well-rounded future leaders. As Maya Angelou once said, success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. Our honorees have demonstrated success through passion and dedication, inspiring peers and making their families, teachers, and community proud. Whether excelling in academics, arts, athletics, or leadership, they show that greatness comes from hard work and commitment. Their achievements are the result of a strong support system, parents, teachers, and the community working together. To our honorees, congratulations. You are the best of Cave Creek Unified, and we look forward to your future contributions to the world. And with that, I would like the members of the board to step down here. And as we call each student up, please come forward so we can congratulate you. Okay. Our first student is DJ Bowick from Black Mountain. Come on up. Okay. After you shake everybody's hand, stay up here. From Desert Willow, Dean Legg. Also from Desert Willow, Knox Huskelhuss. Congratulations, Knox. From Horseshoe Trails, Everett Stevens. And unfortunately, Everett was not able to join us this evening, as is the Snore and Trail Student of the Month, Enzo Alberto. So, congratulations to both of them. From Desert Sun, Cole Axberg. Chloe, I'm sorry. I apologize, Chloe. And from Cactus Shadows, Charlene Lamb. Congratulations. Okay, parents, if you would like to get a picture, now's your opportunity. Okay, we will take a short 5-minute break. Whoop. We have one more? Oh, and who would that be?
Please hold for 1 second.
Yes, hang on. Information is coming forth. last month, one of our students of the month from Black Mountain was not here, so we would like to honor Saul Cruz as well. Congratulations to our students of the month. And now we will take a short 5-minute recess. And if you'd like to leave, this might be your opportunity to sneak out. Okay, item 2.2, annual financial report for fiscal year 25, presented by Dr. Pletnick.
Good evening, President Greer, governing board members. Tonight we will be going over some high-level information about the annual financial report. The annual financial report is due to be filed with the state tomorrow after board approval. So the purpose of the annual financial report is, of course, transparency, accountability for the district, but also compliance. It just so happens currently, as we are going over this, we are also going through our annual audit at the same time. So again, that goes along with that transparency and accountability of using public funds. Our revenue sources this year did not really change from last year much. You can see 66% of our revenue was from that local tax base, 7% from the federal government, and that would be things such as your IDEA grant, your title grants. So that, again, we did see a drop in that funding this year. And then 27% from the state. And where you go with the state funding, we don't receive state aid, but we do receive classroom site fund money, instructional improvement fund money as well. And so a very high level overview of the M&O expenditures. Again, that's going to be our largest portion of our budget. You can see that we did reduce our spending and all of our expenditures last year. So we went from $32 million to just under $31 million in FY25. The one thing I do want to remind you of, if you think back to the budget is we are planning for how much we are going to spend. This is how much we actually did spend in the last school year. You can see a majority of our expenditures are on salaries as well as employee benefits. High-level overview of just the $31 million that we spent. I'll be breaking this down here in a second, but this just gives us a chart of all the various areas, all the various functions that we do spend money. Again, when we look at spending public funds, what we have to note is accountability. And you can see each time we do this, we have over 20-digit account code breaking down into individual purchases, individual expenditures. And so these are the codes that you see with those expenditures on the AFR, as well as when we get the AG report and the classroom spending report. So here's a pie chart of just how we do spend money. If you notice, instruction is the largest piece of that pie. Also instructional staff, student spending as well. When all of those are combined, it's nearly 60% of our overall budget. And what I wanted to do is also give you a breakdown of M&O expenditures from regular education and special education. So these are separated on on the annual financial report when you look at the maintenance and operation. So regular education is one section, and special education includes all special ed spending. It also includes CTE. So a small portion of that is our CTE M&O expenditures. But special education is for our special education students, including gifted. So when looking at this, one of the big things I wanted to point out is as we reduced expenditures this past year to that $31 million, you can see on the regular education side, we did reduce all segments except the student support or the support of the teaching process. When we do look to the special education side, and we've mentioned this over the past year quite a bit, we are seeing an increase in our special education costs. We can see that we had a 9% increase in instruction, and the students, which is supporting the educational process, we saw an increase in that. Now, the instructional staff, where you see the decrease, that would be a reduction from our directors and supervisors. So we did reduce the special ed side on that. And then, again, central services is a nominal amount, but relates to a high percentage. So I did want to point out when we break out some of those increases in our special education spending, what we're looking at is purchase services and seeing a large increase in purchase services. So those would be our contract teachers. Those would also be the tuition to outplacement schools. We can see that equated to an $850,000 increase between FY24 and FY25. So as you are looking at that annual financial report and you're seeing areas that we are seeing increased costs, even though we're trying to decrease our spending based upon the number of students and our enrollment decreasing, we are seeing quite a bit of an increase in that area within our budget. And the final piece to this is just one more step in managing the financial process of the school district. We are looking at the October, where we see the FY25 AFR. Based upon the submission of the FY25 AFR, we will get from the state what they call our Budget 75 report. And what that shows is how much money we have to carry forward. So again, when we budget, based upon how many students we have a capacity. And based upon how much we spent and based upon last year's capacity tells us how much we can carry forward into this school year. So we'll receive that sometime in November, and then we will do a budget revision. It does say if needed. Last year we did not need to do it because we were within 1% of our budget limit, but no matter what, we're going to do one this December just based upon our current situation. And with the school closures, we'll do one to see where we're at in December. And so that's the timeline. And also with that timeline, as I said, we're currently going through our annual audit. So with that, any questions?
I have a couple questions. Can you go to the first large pie chart that shows where funding comes from? Just for information for the public. So even though the taxes, it's 66% of our funding comes from that, do you know what percentage we actually send out based on the tax revenue that we bring in?
I would have to calculate that, but what I can tell you is I believe last year was somewhere around $12 million is what we actually sent out back to the general fund. So when it does say that local, and Member Walker, this is a great point, when it does say 66% is local, what we're looking at is, as we looked at on the budget, that budget capacity. Based upon how many students we have, the state says you're allowed to spend this much money. So then we go out and we tax for that much money to meet our capacity. But the state also says you have to tax at a minimal rate. And we tax so low that we go below that number. So there's an extra tax that you'll see on your tax bill that our taxpayers pay, but that money gets shipped directly to the state. and that's that qualifying tax rate. So of that 66%, yes, that's for our capacity, but there is left over from our taxpayers that get shipped downtown.
Thank you. And then also on the comparison of 24 versus 25 with the special ed on there, is this also being affected though? And we saw our federal funding basically got cut in half. I would think, does that start affecting the difference in 24 versus 25 as far as revenue?
We did see a reduction between 24 and 25. It was not nearly
what the 25
we're
to 26
seeing now
is going to be. Okay.
The 25 to 26. But that would absolutely impact some of the MNO expenditures, because if we can't spend that money from the IDA grant, it has to be spent from somewhere else, and that would be our MNO.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Can I piggyback on the special? When are we going to, or are we seeing and recognizing some of the students that are already going over? I'm going to say DSAA, just for I like that one, Member Walker. Just to clarify that, are we recognizing any of that change in offsetting these numbers, or is that something we're still building towards?
We won't see it on this report. Remember, this report, this ended June 30th.
So it's going to be
that
when
would
we
be,
start talking.
yes, correct, in the following year.
Or we might see that if we do December? Would we see
December.
that?
Remember, December is the budget, not the expenditures.
Not the expense, yeah. Okay.
What we can do, though, is we can gauge how much we have spent to that point.
Yep.
So we'll have an idea of some of our expenditures, half of our expenditures. So we'll know what our budget is, and we'll be able to project what our expenditures are in December.
Okay. And then going back to CTE, I just want to drive this point home because I don't think we do it enough, is when it comes to CTE/EVIT, we cannot hit our EVIT funds for our CTE teachers currently. Is that correct? Or is there a percentage that we can?
Correct. So that fund is what if you look at it numerically, is 596. So if you look, there is what's called a CTE supplanting sheet that goes along with the annual financial report. That's attached. On that, what it shows is how much money we spent towards our career and technical education programs, then how much money was spent out of this 596 fund, which is those EVIT funds.
Correct.
Then there is the federal CTE grants, the state CTE grant, and there's a worksheet that shows how much we spent of our own M&O money, how much we spent of the federal and state grants, and how much we spent of the 596. So it's a balance of how much we can spend. And so when you're referring to that, can we spend money on such things like our teacher salaries? Yes, we absolutely can spend that money. The only problem is it's called supplanting. And what supplanting is, in our base year, when we had the program in existence, we paid for it out of our maintenance and operations. It stays in the maintenance and operations. So if EVIT approved a new program, for example, and we hired a new teacher for that new program, we could use that EVIT 596 money to pay that salary. But since our programs existed, we can't supplant.
Which is why the district's sitting on the 1.4 in aspects of getting new programs.
Correct. I mean, the money, and again, Ms. Scherer would be able to, on that CTE side, I work closely with her on how those funds are spent. But those funds would be spent for new programs, especially if you look at the culinary program. When we brought that here and they remodeled the culinary rooms, that was money taken out of that 596, those EVIT funds.
Okay.
You mentioned that in the coming months, we'll know what we can carry forward. Do you have a general idea of how much that will be?
Yes, we do. And that was on the last budget of the carry forward. It was somewhere, and I would have to look at the budget to get the exact number. Member
just
Greer.
a ballpark.
Yeah,
fine.
and I would want to pull that, but somewhere in the ballpark in the $3 million.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, then item 2.3, assessment results from spring 2025, presented by Dr. Jensen.
Thank you, President Greer, members of the board. I'm going to have Ms. Hill present with me, our Director of Data and Assessment. And we're excited to share our assessment scores from last year. We are only focusing on grades 3 through 8, but I want you guys to understand that we assess from the day those little kids enter our schools to make sure that what we're doing instructionally is working and is effective. So the purpose of this presentation is to simply inform the governing board members and the public of our assessment results from the 24-25 school year. As well as we will get into a little bit of the practices that we use so that we can constantly improve. Here's a quick agenda. I'm not going to read it to you. We'll start with the AASA. So as those of you who have been around for a while, you know this has changed names multiple times. We have had the AASA for a while, and we use that to measure academic achievement for grades 3 through 8, and it is aligned to the standards. It is to measure the degree to which our students have mastered the standards. I showed you all this last year, so I'm not going to rehash it, but this is just simply a sample of what it means to be on level in 3rd grade. So many people get discouraged when they see the scores across the state, across the nation, that our students aren't reading. Again, they are word calling. It's just a lot different to answer some of these types of questions. And so there's a difference between reading fluently, learning to read, and then here in 3rd grade where we're expecting them to use strategies where they're reading to learn. Again, a writing prompt. Mostly I've got these in here for posterity's sake. And then math. The same thing with math. This is a grade 8 math problem. They're very difficult, and what I'm going to say is tricky because they're often select all the correct answers. They don't even tell you that there's 2 correct answers. It's select all correct answers. So if the student selected 3 and B and C happened to be in there, they still got them wrong. Without any further belaboring the point, here were the scores from last year. Our goal last year was to be 20% above the state in every single grade level. We came close to meeting that. I highlighted the areas where we need to work more. So 6th grade ELA, 7th grade and 8th grade ELA, and then 7th and 8th grade math. And so we have some work to do there. We're still above the state, but not nearly as far above the state as what we would expect and what we want for our students. We already have plans in place, and I'll get into a little bit of that as we go, but Mr. Oggs is working with his team to make sure that we're using evidence-based resources, that students are taking ownership of their assessments, that we're partnering with the parents to make sure parents understand these assessments and how well they do. And then also there's been a big focus on small group instruction and reading in all content areas, not just in ELA. So those are just a few of the things, and we can talk more about that if you'd like. With that, I want to ask for, I've put questions throughout because there's a lot of information we're going to share. So do you have any questions up to this point? And then we can ask for more later. Good, keep going? Okay.
Keep going.
All right, so another one of the fun tests that we get to take in 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade is AZSI, which is the Arizona State Science Test. It tests over 3 grade level bands, so our 5th graders are tested on 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade science standards. Same for our 8th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and then our high schoolers in 11th grade have 9th, 10th, and 11th grade standards. This is an example again. It is fairly tricky. It's not just a basic recall. A lot of it is looking at graphs and models, making predictions, having had these experiments or experiences in the class, then how can you relate them to the questions on the exam? This is us and how we did as well on the AZSI. Again, we are above the state average, but we are always trying to get better. And so I think that's going to lead us into our next slide. Whoa, back. It was a little aggressive. The big thing with There we go. Okay. The big thing with the AZ Sci scores is it focuses on those major domains, specifically for 9th and 11th grade with the physical sciences, life sciences, earth and space sciences. And we wanted to kind of put this in there so that our families could see, and our governing board members as well can see, that a lot of it is, there's very little when you look at the percentage on the test of doing tasks, 0 to 5%. A lot of it is being able to interpret those models, being able to understand and read the scripted tasks, and then be able to apply it to the problem. And so that just kind of gives you a breakdown of the assessment as well. And then those 3 domains within science lead into our ACT, which our 11th graders also take the science test as part of the ACT. And so Dr. Jensen?
Yeah, so I wanted to show here because we've had a lot of attention on our sciences over the past few years, and we've really been working on tweaking to make sure that our students are set up for success. As you all are aware, we've really been pushing that all students take lab sciences, and that's biology, chemistry, and physics. Last year, when I shared a similar graph or similar chart to this, our number was more like 20 students had done all 3 before they took the ACT. This year we get to share that it was 100, so we are moving more students into that more academic science pathway. And the percentage of the students, you can see there, their average on the ACT was 24.1, which the national average is 19.7. And we haven't gotten into this yet, but on the ACT, when we're comparing to the national average, that's not just all students. In Arizona, all students in public schools take the ACT test. In other states, it's only a college entrance exam, so it's only the students who are college prep students. So I do think that's an important thing to note, that all students are scoring above if they're taking our science pathway, the national average for ACT Science. Also, those who took that, 65% of them met the benchmark, which was 23, was our benchmark that is set for college entrance. So does that kind of, that is some good data. We've kind of been waiting for some data to see, is what you're doing working? That shows us that our science teachers, if the students are taking those classes, they are absolutely getting the correct standards, and then they're set up for success moving forward. As opposed to, you can see the other random combinations that students took, and they aren't, there's nowhere near the percentage who are meeting the benchmark over there. Those are all our students. None of those are like the rest of the state. With that, questions on those couple slides regarding AZ Sci?
I have one question. On the slide where you were, the one before this one, where it's broken out to doing tasks, guided tasks, and scripted tasks, that's the percentage of questions on the test. Do the results come back where it's broken out so you know that on the doing tasks, this percentage of kids pass that part?
Great question. At this point, it is not broken out by our state. We have asked for better data on not only the AZSI, but on the AASA as well, so that we can really drill down and see. Right now, it just gives us that general, they were either highly proficient, proficient, minimally proficient, or partially proficient. And then it will say in physical sciences, if you've had a child and you've seen it, it's the plus, the check mark, or the little minus. That's about as good as it gets. But I know in talking with ADE, our superintendent, Dolezal has been on calls, and there is a push now that we have these essential standards for ELA and math that have been identified by the state to do the same thing for science. So hopefully our reporting will be able to give us a little bit more.
Well, hopefully something good comes out of it, because the more tools our teachers have, the better they can be.
Absolutely. When you know what to fix, you can fix it.
Exactly.
Any other questions regarding the science portions?
On this this is just based on ACT, not AZ Sci, correct? This chart?
Correct.
This is
So-
ACT test,
So this
which
is-
is more than just science.
So
Or is this the
this
science
one is
portion?
just the science portion of the ACT. So
Okay.
Arizona kids are lucky because they get to take the AZ Sci and they get to take the science portion of the ACT. And so that they can compare themselves not only to Arizona students, but then they can see how they're doing nationally as well, especially when we have kiddos that are wanting to go outside of the state. And a lot of them, specifically, I know, just in talking with my own kids, are realizing, hey, if I want to go into nursing at the University of Arizona, I need to take chemistry in person and I need to have these lab experiences, which is what our pathway is kind of pushing students towards. And so we're seeing that success, not only on the ACT, but then when they get into college.
For the course catalog at the high school, are these the three? How many sciences can you take in person offerings?
Oh, how many offerings? These 3 plus that we have. What else do we have right now? I'll have to get back to you on all
Okay.
of the list, but you're required to take 3 years, and then students can choose to take a 4th year. So some kids like took physics, and then they chose to take AP physics their senior year, which we'll talk about later in December when we do talk about the course guide. But one of the issues is we need students to sign up for those classes in order to offer them, and when it's optional,
Yeah.
fewer of them tend to do that. But we are looking at, we added one additional one this year that was kind of like an integrated science for some of these that still prepares students for the biology, the chemistry, and the physics. But that's a little bit of a different, and it's still aligned to this, as opposed to before we had students taking zoology, geology, some of those that are great science classes, don't get me wrong, just not necessarily prepping them for our test.
And we probably don't have data on this yet, but, or maybe we do, over the past couple years, how many of these are in class versus online? And do they still take that same pathway online?
They still take the same pathway, yes. And I am in the process actually of pulling that data. I have a couple spreadsheets. They're very raw. It depends on the provider is really what it's coming out to find, is what I'm finding. So some of them who took, honestly, the ones I'm looking at right now is ours, the Edgenuity version, because I want to see if it's any good. And it's not bad. It's not this high, but it's not bad. It still teaches the correct standards, and we are getting the correct results. This is Patty's first look at it. Okay. It's not like, I don't have correlational data quite yet. Okay. But then as I'm looking at all of the other combinations that people come up with, that's what we're going to look at as well.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions about science? Moving on.
Okay, the next test that our students get to take in 9th grade is the ACT Aspire, and that's really a practice test and getting them used to the timing. The AASA and the AZ Sci, you have all day to take the test. The ACT Aspire and ACT, they are timed, and so there's given chunks of time that you are allowed to take the English portion. You have to take the math. So again, this is a practice test that we give our kids to kind of get them prepared to the type of questioning they're going to see on the ACT, as well as the timing of it. And so when you look, it has the same 4 categories. So instead of highly proficient, proficient, partially proficient, and minimally proficient, you have exceeding, ready, close, and I forgot the 4th one, and I even wrote it down. I think it's like nearly there. It doesn't sound as aggressive as minimally proficient. It's like almost there. And you can see our kids outperformed in the exceeding and ready category, which would be comparable to that 3 through 8, which would be proficient and highly proficient. And then nationally as well, Dr. Jensen pointed out that our students across Arizona, all students take it, but when we compare them nationally, we're also going against students who are only college bound that are selecting to take it, and we're right in there with the national averages. So very proud of our freshmen, especially because it's their first time taking the test. Dr. Jensen. Okay, then in 11th grade, we get the ACT test. It's used for college and career planning, educational measurement. Our universities weren't requiring it right after COVID, but now they've tended to go back to it, as well as the SAT. And so when we look at our ACT growth, the highest score, it's a score of 1 to 36. The score that the student receives basically tells you the percentage. The average national score is about 19.4. And again, we want to point out that those are mostly college-bound kids that are deciding to take it. Our ACT scores for CCUSD, you can see the composite, which is kind of the overall of all the English, reading, writing, math, and science, is very high above the state of Arizona, and it is high above the national score. And Cactus Shadows continues to keep improving their ACT composite scores each year. They have really been focused on it in their PLCs and really drilling down and seeing, okay, what kinds of questions are our students going to be getting? How can we better prepare them so that they are successful on this and that they feel prepared going into it?
And one of the pieces I want to point out here, just because it has become a bit of an issue in Cave Creek, when it comes to the AASA and the ACT tests, we don't get to make all of the decisions when it comes to accommodating, modifying tests. This is the test, this is what the state allows, this is what ACT allows, the College Board, whatever it is. And so even though we may have a student who's been on an IEP or a 504 for a really long time and getting extra time, let's say, or whatever it may be, when they get here, College Board reviews, we don't get to make those reviews and we don't get to make those judgment calls. And so that's something that's challenging for some of our kids and a real balance that we're having to face as some of our kids have had extra time. Emily kind of alluded to it before, where in the AASA, they get all day. Once they get up to these more college prep, very much standardized tests, they don't get to take all day. There are a few exceptions that the College Board makes, and we rarely qualify for any of those exceptions.
And to qualify for them, it takes both myself and Mr. Morgan, who is the assessment coordinator down at the high school. We have to get parental permission to send in the 504s, the IEPs. A lot of times they want the medical diagnoses attached to it. They want to know how long you've been using the accommodations. Unfortunately, the College Board, or fortunately, you can look at it either way, they've kind of gotten hip to the fact that some people just will get accommodations for the test and then they don't really use them. So now they're asking for things like, are we using them in daily? Are they going to the testing center? If they're really need 70 minutes or are requesting 2 days to take the test, can you show documentation that they've been doing that? So, and our teachers down there are doing a fantastic job because it is a little tricky. I think we have, just for this cohort coming up, we have over 150 kids that are just on IEPs or 504s in our junior class.
So again, great work at Cactus Shadows for those, and we're very proud of those. I happen to have informal test scores from around the valley, and we are among the highest. And so that's something that I think we need to hold our heads high and be proud about. Still a lot of work to do. The work is never done, but very exciting. Just a few other points of pride that aren't always measured on these types of tests, but our advanced placement, our international baccalaureate, our dual enrollment, our CTE certifications, and our CTE technical skill assessments, and our Arizona State Diploma Seals. The state also measures these in terms of giving us extra, I'll call them points, for what they call CCRI. And so we'll show you just kind of a quick overview of how we're doing well, how we continue to monitor them, and how we're really trying to use them to individualize per child to make sure that all of our kids are coming away with something. Even if they don't have the ACT score of a 32, they're still doing something, and they're excelling in their area. So here you see AP classes and exams. I mean, excellent percentages for our AP passing rates, and a lot of students are taking them. And so that's something exciting, and that's something we review, and we are reviewing as we're going through the course guides right now to plan for next year of which classes are the students taking, which ones are they not, and planning accordingly. Our IB classes and exams, again, these are last year's students. So you'll see, again, great passing rates, not quite as high of participation, but excellent passing rates there. We know we're very strong in both of those areas. Dual enrollment, which we've talked a lot about, and that's an area that's often underutilized. That gives students PVCC credit, which is often transferable, definitely transferable to in-state universities and often to some of the out-of-states as well. Like all of these, it's a case-by-case situation. But really, these are college-level courses, and you can see, again, that we're growing them, and we're also hiring teachers who have those master's degrees in the content areas so that we're able to provide more and more of those. And then CTE technical skills assessments. Again, our students don't just get to take culinary arts so that they can learn to cook for a semester. Instead, we have them go through the whole sequence so that they come out with at least some sort of a work industry certification. Again, our CTE industry certifications. So these are the students who are earning some sort of an industry certificate. Some of these students do go on to four-year universities, and then some of them are going straight into employment right away. Either way, it's an excellent thing for them to have, whatever their plans are, honestly. And then our Arizona diploma seals at Cactus Shadows. We really like to give out the seals, and so we've got all of these seals. The thing I do like about it, and really all of this stuff, is it requires our students to dig into something. They don't just get to be dilettantes and dabble around and try everything out. They really do get to become an expert at something, an expert as far as an 11th or 12th grader goes.
And I would just say a change from last year is we were able to add the seal of civics literacy. Last year was our first year doing it. We had 2 students that were able to receive that honor, and then this year that program is going to continue to grow, and as well we're adding the seal of personal finance. So we'll have all 4 Arizona seals and then our own CCUSD seal of biliteracy and global seal of biliteracy. So that's another exciting opportunity for our students.
Absolutely. And then these are our CCRI points, which is basically how when we add up all of those things that we've gone through, we've got great numbers across the board here. And so again, this shows that even though we might not have, we are small, we offer a whole lot for our students. And so there are a lot of opportunities for them to do great things in the areas that we have. Anything to add on that? So, continuing in next steps, I always kind of remind you that based off of assessments, we always make a plan moving forward that guides our next steps, whether it be in the classroom or at the district level. All these things with the red check marks we've talked about every single year, so I'm not going to review them. We have done most of them. We're continuing to do all of them. The pieces that we're adding this year is by the end of the year, we want to make sure that our assessments, K-12, are aligned and our grading practices are aligned with research. We know, we've heard from parents, we've experienced it, we know that some students are getting A's in classes and then failing their tests, whether it be the AASA or something else. That shows us that there's not an alignment between what we're teaching in the classroom and how we're grading in the classroom. I think we're probably teaching the right things, but how we're grading in the classroom and how we are then assessing with the standardized tests. So we want to draw some of that into better alignment. And then, which I've got there, ensure that the grades reflect their progress towards mastery, not just did they show up and have a happy attitude every single day in class. Ensure that our assessment practices reflect current research. So we've been reviewing this research with our teachers for a couple years now, and now we're kind of going to, I'll say, codify some of it and make it a little bit more formal and put it in writing about these are the best practices that are research-based that we agree to in Cave Creek. And it doesn't matter if you have Ms. Hill, Dr. Pletnick, Dr. Hendrickson, or Dr. Jensen as your teacher, this will be how we assess you in your classroom. And then a thing that we're continuing to discuss is examining the unintended consequences of academic distinctions and GPA practices. This is a big conversation piece, but we have noticed that some program areas have been choked out because they might not be weighted. And students are chasing the weighted grades sometimes because they want the highest GPA. So we're wanting to make sure that we do something to address that. And we don't know completely the answer yet. We're still wrestling with that, but we want to examine some of those consequences because ultimately we want CCUSD to be about excellence and learning, not just about who came out with a 5.0 GPA because they took all of the most weighted classes. We want our students to chase their dreams and learn during school, not just chase the highest GPA. With that, any questions?
What kind of things are you looking at doing to do that, about that final step, about getting the grades and the what's happening on the test in alignment? What kind of things are you planning on implementing in that regard?
So a very simple one that they're all going to be a little bit controversial with some people, and they really need the articles and the understanding behind them to learn about it. But a very simple one would be eliminating extra credit. So extra credit's great to pad your grade, but it doesn't tell me if my student understood their math concept for the day. I'm so glad that she was able to do 12 bonus questions from last week, but I want to make sure that they can solve for X or whatever the standard may be, so that when we're grading items that they are tied to a standard, that they're not tied to behavior. So that's a very simple, easy one. Other examples would be making sure students have access to feedback, assessment feedback regularly and as quickly as possible. That's a standing best practice that's got lots of research to support it. And so that would be another one that we discuss. How do we make this feasible so that we also maintain the integrity of the test, so that if I got it back in second period, I don't get to go give it to my third period friend who's about to take the test. So how do we make that so that it's feasible, but also the best practice for the student? Does that make sense? 2 examples.
How does that work with how everything's weighted for, especially at the high school, where your work every day is so low, and then if you have a student that's really participatory in class and understands the concepts, they're just a horrible test taker. Mm-hmm. I mean, it can drop their grade significantly.
Absolutely. So, okay. I don't want to say what I think the weightings should be. That's a different thing. But if we're going to use something where assessments are heavily weighted, which I think is a good thing, because it shouldn't just be that you get to talk your way into your grade, but then they need to be allowed to retake it and receive that feedback right away. So then they learn from their mistakes. That's the best way we learn. We fail, and then we get to do the retake. And so that would be, I'm all for it. You want to make assessments 100%, that's great, but then we get to retake the assessment and try again. Of course, the student needs to have some skin in the game. They can't just sit there and blow everything off and never do that. But most students who go in for a retake, they're not, it's a pain. So they're going to go and do the difficult work of studying, meeting with the teacher, figuring out what they're confused about, and then going in and doing better the second time. So again, there needs to be some parameters and things about it, but if you look in real life, I mean, I don't ask lawyers how many times they took the bar. They probably took the bar a lot of times. Same thing with your doctors or whatever else it may be. Driver's license, you don't know if they took the driver's license one time or if they took their driver's test once or 10 times. They get to drive.
Can we also go back to the chart that shows all the points really quick? Yeah. What's the difference, or what are we doing? Because I believe there's a difference for staff to be able to teach a dual enrollment versus AP.
Yes. Dual enrollment, you need to have a master's degree in the content area. So if you're going to give, right now we're able to offer dual enrollment biology because our biology teacher has her master's degree in biology. For AP, you need to be a highly qualified teacher, and that's about it.
And is funding different between the two?
For
For
the-
us to
for
receive?
us. I believe the state reduced our AP funding this last year, so yes, but it's still comparable. Having seen some recent invoices, it is still comparable, but yes.
Anything with the work you've been doing with Hanover, is there anything that's possibly changing? Again, we can't. There comes a point of balancing, right? Because I know there's been conversations of where do you kind of double down. Dual enrollment's been a hot button for you versus like if we look at IB or AP, like what does the future look like? And have we gotten to a point to where we're starting to get some of that data to start being honest with adjusting?
Right. Good question, Member Moore. We have not gotten to the point of program evaluation with Hanover yet, and so this survey was kind of a first round of things, and then there's we're getting ready to do the, what do we call them, listening sessions, where we'll be digging deeper with focus groups. And so I think out of that, we might be able to come up with some more. A big part is listening to our students and where they're choosing, where are they registering and what are they doing. They're kind of telling us some of that stuff based off of if we look at some trend data over the past few years. So they are telling us that. I mean, they tell us they want to leave after fourth period, their senior year, that they all want to do that. So we're trying to listen to some of that, put some guardrails up to say, we know you want to do that, but it's not in your best interest for other things.
Are we including parents in that conversation?
Say that again?
Are we including the parents in that conversation? Because, I mean, I know the student wants to leave, but maybe the parent has a different, objective on what they want their student to learn. I mean, just from a product standpoint.
That's a great idea. I think.
How do we, like,
Or even
if we're spending the money with Hanover, which is a consulting firm, which, I mean, I see the value in it, obviously, and I think, obviously the survey is going to be interesting. Even some of the questions, I'm curious to see how they round out. But I do think in the focus groups, like that parent participation as well as student participation, I think that will get you to your product that you're looking for.
Okay, yes, the parents are a group that we will be doing or interviewing during the listening sessions. Absolutely. I thought you meant, do the parents give their kids permission to leave early from school?
Now, we have rules for that.
They do have to sign off on, I think they're supposed to sign off, but I think there's some assumptions made, and maybe we have actually talked about for the early release for senior year, maybe making it a little bit more cumbersome so that parents really sign off and everybody's a little bit more aware of what their child is passing up by not coming to fifth and sixth period.
And have you thought about, too, in that regard, because I think some of it comes into messaging, right? And the question is, as we talk about kind of the path of a student at CCUSD, have we thought about putting some emphasis on creating that journey and showing the parent as well as the student of, yeah, it may be great you want to take this half day, but if you did this, like, with our EVIT students, senior year, they don't get to recognize that. But the benefit is they get a certificate, to your point, it opens up other paths. Same with some of our students that are going for, IB and so on. There is a higher level of commitment, but there's also an outcome. And are we helping educate and paint that journey? Because I think that's some of a miss on our part in giving that full kind of look at, here's your paths, right? And even following the 3 E's. I think if we painted that picture and we're pushing it out a little bit more, that might change even the metrics, because we just kind of let people choose their own journey, and that doesn't always mean it's the right journey.
I also think it might be a big disconnect. I mean, with the amount of options and being a parent of a couple high schoolers, if you're not having those conversations with their counselor and it's a different person every year, it gets really difficult to not switch their path, or then the person doesn't know what path they were on or what they're trying to accomplish. It just seems very difficult to not have that consistency.
Yes, that's good feedback, and definitely things we're discussing during our course guide conversations about how can we make it more clear for our 8th graders, because really it's our 8th graders need to make that decision soon. Right. So how can we help them see all of these options? If you want to do EVIT, here's what you should be doing your freshman year. If you want to do this AP, IB, this is what you should be doing your freshman year. So we're really working on trying to make that a little bit more like just clear and visually understandable. It's very complex, and that's the thing that's a little bit difficult, because there are a myriad of options. I mean, there's so many choices. And so trying to find some way to make that very simple for them.
Any other questions? Thank you for putting this together. It's been really informative, and it also really highlights how hard our teachers work to make sure our students are learning a lot. So thank you to everyone.
President Greer, if I can take the liberty, since I was voluntold to be here tonight, I don't think Dr. Jensen, Mrs. Hill, showed the enthusiasm of the work that our administrators that are in the room, and just the way they just crushed these results and looking at the ACT scores. So there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of hiring decisions as they're trying to find these people in these specialized positions to fill, and they've done year after year. They do an amazing job, and I see it out the HR side of where we're getting better quality teachers. We have quality schools that have these great cultures. So it's just a huge shout out and the success to all of our administrators in the room that are leading amazing teachers in our classrooms. So great job.
During Principals Month, National Principals Month. So thank you, principals.
Yes. Thank you, principals. Okay, item 3.1, action consent. Is there a motion to approve the action consent?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, item 4.1. Oh, wait a minute. We had item 3.6, which was the monthly enrollment report presented by Dr. Plotnick.
We move that the governing board take no action. This is information only.
So moved.
Second.
Did you have
Well,
something?
this is opening it to go to the question, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm tracking. I'm getting better these days. So a couple quick questions in regards to enrollment. When we're looking at some of our entries and withdrawals, obviously looking at what I kind of see a trend that's kind of getting interesting is online. And I'm just curious, as kind of maybe a follow-up of, have we done the, kind of looked over the last couple of years as seeing when we have students leaving, it's not necessarily they're going to other schools like some people like to see. When I look at some of the numbers, it's really kind of going to online, whether it's AOE or another ASU prep or whatever. Are we tracking that? And then have we looked at ways that we can recapture and regain some of that fallout when it comes to moving to online? Whoever wants that.
Member Moore, yes, some of them go online. Often, they're also unique that it's really hard to make a generalization. This last month, I'm seeing one, maybe.
Yeah, three. Yeah,
Three?
we had three go to AOE, but you did have some more
Okay.
fallout that
Well,
went to online.
So they're unique. I know two of the reasons why they went to AOE. The other one that went online, I don't know. Sometimes it is that they're failing in all of their classes and they want to graduate, and so they're going to go online and go find something. It could be a myriad of reasons, and usually we know exactly why, and we are supportive of them getting the help that they need at that time with whatever they're going through. and then we welcome them back as soon as they're ready to come back and able to come back, whatever it may be. So it's always something different. So it would be too much for me to generalize. But at the end of the day, and one of the things we have been discussing is we offer a really great product. Our assessment scores speak for it. Some people aren't going to be happy or going to find what they're looking for here. We cannot be everything to everybody all of the time. And so we really want to hone in, and that's some of the work we're doing with Hanover, is what can we offer and do really well? We want to be excellent at what we are. And sometimes that doesn't work for some others.
And remember more, I also believe thinking outside the box like we have with DSA and dropout prevention and looking at alternative ways we can have programming, not just AOE, can help those situations. If we do offer those alternative programs, develop those alternative programs, then again, we're offering a little different product, especially if somebody does not fit in that traditional product.
Okay, I'll ask it this way too: is do you guys feel that you're being curious enough when we look at our enrollment numbers? Because again, it's kind of protecting at the top. I think sometimes we get hung up on what's coming in. It's kind of one of those aspects of, are we controlling what we can control? So if someone's leaving, right, and what we'll call it, they're withdrawing, are we looking at every scenario as to why, how, and can we reattain? Now, I know we get some win backs. I mean, I have seen that show up in some of the numbers. And so I'm not trying to make this a negative. I'm just trying to say, are we being hyper diligent in ensuring we're managing our enrollment, because that's going to keep us healthy? Does that make sense? I feel like we have this conversation. I'm just not like, I know the Hanover stuff is kind of like a wait and see, and I get that that's a long process, but we're still losing students. So the question and my focus, why I pull this pretty much every meeting, is just, are we being good stewards of the district and trying to remedy all loss? Now, I get your statement, Dr. Jensen, and respect that, of the fact that, yes, there's some things you just can't make people happy, and I get that part. But again, sometimes it's just trying to understand, is what's that one little thing? Are we hyper focused on our own opinion on things, or are we really sitting with that family and going, hey, let me understand what you're trying to gain that we're not offering, and seeing if there's a solution? Because we are, and again, I do think, Dr. Plutnik, I agree, what we're doing with, the alternative school, the things in the past that we're going down, I see the value, and I see it starting to gain movement. And I know we haven't reported out on that, so everybody thinks it's just mythical, but I know it's factual. But I just feel like this is the one area that we should be just aggressive and relentless on. Of, we just don't accept a withdrawal unless we really cannot meet the need.
And yes, Member Moore, I mean, first of all, the numbers for the last month, we were up 3, so we did increase, so we didn't decrease. But I do feel like we're borderline, I don't want to say begging, but that's what it sometimes, before a person leaves, like, we have talked to them, they've met with the principal, they have determined that this is no longer the best fit for whatever reason. And sometimes we have to let that happen to save everybody else. Like, sometimes that becomes such a distraction that we're spending our time looking at the people who are leaving rather than making sure that we're keeping the people here and providing the very best that we can for them. But to your point, yes, we do send the exit survey, all of that. We have a few responses. We review those, make sure that we address whatever those issues are to the best of our ability. I mean, sometimes they say things that they want more programming. Right. We can't provide more programming at this point. So there are certain things that we just can't do. But yes, I feel like we are very aggressive in trying to keep enrollment and trying to improve it. And I do think we sometimes need to recognize when we're doing a good job. And up 3 in September, hey, good job.
Again, not taking hard shots at that. I'm just saying it's a good focus point. And I would say that, yeah, those numbers are what they are. But again, I think we've made some misses in areas where we could have, we've had our challenges with 504s and IEPs. There's just little nuances that sometimes shoot us in the foot, and I'm just trying to ensure that we're diligent stewards of the district and trying to recapture that.
When the surveys go out, do you get responses back from all of them, or is it just some?
It's only some of them. And again, when they say moved out of the country, like we know what they're going to say. Yeah. Some of those do fill it out though and give us positive feedback or whatever it may be. So, but yes, I'd be happy to send response rates in a board update or whatever else it may be. But we do look at the response rates and see what. If we need to follow up, or if there's a bunch from a certain area, we look at trends and all of those things, but the individuals we don't. And then, of course, we always welcome people to come in and chat with us about individual concerns. And so, if somebody's upset about a 504 or an IEP, we can definitely talk about it with them. Or whatever else. And if, by all means, if you have ideas, we're always available to sit and chat about what some of those things are that we could do.
Yeah, because the reality to it is I know we're super excited about test scores and they're phenomenal, but the problem is that's not getting people to come here in a mass volume. And I understand the other districts because I got to see their numbers, and everybody's having some of the same challenges. The question that I really kind of put to you as the cabinet is, if everybody's having the same challenge, there's an opportunity for us to gain. So I'm hoping, and I'm kind of hedging, that this Hanover study really kind of maybe opens that aha moment for you guys.
And I think, Member Moore, you kind of hit the nail on the head with that comment. Is the exit surveys are reactionary. At that point, we have lost that student. But the Hanover, the focus groups, the listening groups, however they want to refer to the focus groups, but the focus groups are a proactive step. It's a proactive step to listening to the community, listen to what those needs are, listen to potentially where we're excelling, but also where we're falling short. So I think taking that proactive step and moving forward in that direction is going to give us better data than really autopsy data once we lose those students.
Do we have kind of an end game with Hanover when you guys actually kind of get to the final stage? And then obviously when we as a board would kind of get some of that recap?
Yeah, as far as hard dates, and so the way we're working with Hanover is there's different projects that we're working on, and so we're kind of locked into one project at a time with some overlap. So as we're finishing up the survey, climate survey, looking at the focus groups, the next one bumping up is going to be the program study. So that will be starting as we're closing out this project. So we got to kind of move as fast as we can schedule these events, as fast as the cabinet is able to get together to do the research, work with Hanover. We have monthly calls with them where we're discussing what is the next project, what we're looking for, and giving them some guidance as they then plan for implementing that next project. So.
Okay, so you can update in chunks. So as we finish the survey, we could have that conversation as we move into. Okay, that makes sense. Yep. Do we have an idea when the survey component will actually be completed?
They sent us an initial. Was it yesterday? I believe an initial results. I don't think any of us had a chance to get into it yet, where it kind of looks at here's very high level, almost like a summary, and then I think within the next week or two is when we'll see kind of more of the analysis of it. But I'll make sure I provide that feedback to Mr. Dolezal of coming to the board with either a presentation or a board update on where we're at in the stages.
Did you have good participation in the survey?
I have not looked at that exactly, so I can make sure I put those in the board update. I know our principals were encouraged to make sure that they're pushing it out, make sure our students are having opportunities to get on there, have time in class to complete those surveys. So I know we will continue to push that out. When you look at survey research, if sadly 25 to 30% is good results. Yep. Kind of thing, and so we're looking to capitalize as much as we can. I know it's hit or miss depending on what's happening. I know even with the surveys that we do with our employees each year that we've done, sometimes it's even hard to get to 40 to 45%, and we're able to get in front of them all the time to ask them to do those surveys.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
Member Moore, our content director with Hanover, stated to expect the full results by early November.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I just have one piggyback on the withdrawal process. And it's probably, maybe it's different from elementary to versus middle school and high school. Does a student just stop showing up and then we get a withdrawal, or is it a formal form that the family has to fill out? I mean, if it's a couple a month, is our go-to to have the principal on each of those campus then reach out to them? What's the process? Or it's just done at, they fill out a withdrawal online and then it gets an informal survey sent out from the district?
Yes. So, yes, they could just stop showing up, and after 10 days, they would get dropped automatically. Or typically, they call and they withdraw their student. Yes, there is paperwork that they complete, namely where we're supposed to send records. And then once we get that records request, that's kind of when it becomes official, because we want to make sure that they're enrolled in school. And then it's probably about a week or two. I mean, by the time then it hits the district office and the enrollment report, then that triggers the email that goes out to check in on the family. Yeah.
From the district, though, not from each individual
Correct.
campus, or
From the district, yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Any other questions? Okay, then, all in favor of 3.6, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, item 4.1, call to the public. According to ARS 38-431.01, a governing board may make an open call to the public during a public meeting, subject to reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions to allow individuals to address the governing board on any issue within the jurisdiction of the governing board. At the conclusion of an open call to the public, individual members of the governing board may respond to criticism made by those who have addressed the governing board, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Members of the governing board shall not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. We ask the audience members to practice proper public meeting decorum, refraining from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate. Those that refuse to follow these rules may be asked to leave. And we have two individuals that will be making public comments. Our first is Sage Sola, and Sage will have 15 minutes.
Hi. I just wanted to thank you, Member Walker, for touching on the importance of counselors and the need for our students to have that rapport with them at the high school level to help them at least get college ready. So just wanted to thank you for that. Okay. Today I will present statements from current Cactus Shadows High School staff members that were emailed to myself and the school board, with more emails expected in the near future. Despite awareness of these problems for years, the administration has chosen to ignore and dismiss them. I would like to share a statement from one staff member. Quote, "I am not one to speak out, but I can no longer stay silent. I feel that there is nothing being addressed. When will something change? Year after year, amazing employees leave. Yes, partially due to low salary, but more often than not because of the lack of leadership and the toxic behaviors and culture in the main office of Cactus Shadows. I wanted to speak at the board meeting this Tuesday, October 14th, but I am extremely fearful of retaliation from certain administrators at Cactus Shadows. I do not need or want a target on my back due to past behaviors from members of our administration. All I want to do is come in to do my work and help students and families. I will say the most difficult part of my job, by far, is working with the leaders at Cactus Shadows. This in turn is affecting my ability to focus on helping students. I am highly considering leaving after this school year, which is unfortunate, but it feels like there is little potential for positive change. I sadly saw morale slowly diminishing year after year. My goal is not to put a dent in someone's career, but when it starts affecting our students and families, I can no longer stay quiet. End quote. Per staff report, in the 2023-2024 school year, there were 3 new staff members hired to work with former employee Lori Dane. After approximately 20 years of service for the district, Lori was pushed out as the lead counselor and replaced by a new staff member without explanation. She reported to her coworkers that she was being treated terribly. As a result, she decided to leave the district. This same school year, Amanda Minecci left for similar reasons. I'm going to quote a current staff member on their account of what happened. Quote, former Secretary of Student Services Amanda Minecci was fired/pushed out by Sarah Barella. A main office coworker who was a witness to this event reported that Sarah yelled at Amanda. This unprofessional behavior by Sarah caused Amanda to walk out of the building with her things and never return. This is important to include as evidence to a pattern of behavior. Additionally, I do know that 2 former Cactus Shadows APs, Drew Amon and Mitch Gregg, were miserable at Cactus Shadows. It was common knowledge that Sarah often got into yelling matches with them. Neither of them returned the following school year. End quote. According to current staff, when the 2024-2025 school year started, there were more staff turnovers, as only 1 school counselor stayed from the previous school year. This staff member explained in their email that this was due to, quote, divide by Sarah Barella, end quote. Once again, just as the previous year, 3 new school counselors were hired. Staff also reported being witness to their coworkers being yelled at by Sarah. I'm now going to read a statement from a current staff member. Quote, at the end of the 2024-2025 school year, I almost walked off campus after Sarah yelled in my face in front of multiple employees and students. It was embarrassing and hurtful, and it was I felt extremely undervalued as a professional. Sarah also had an extremely heated and condescending argument with me in my office in the beginning of the 2025-2026 school year regarding the course guide and end of course exam policy. Another complete disaster. She spoke to me in a very condescending tone, which made me feel stupid and uncomfortable. I reported this to Frank Hendrickson in a meeting on September 22nd, 2025. One of my teammates witnessed this in the office and left my office because of how uncomfortable it made this person feel. One of my other team members from last year decided not to return, primarily due to poor leadership of the administration team, specifically Sarah Barella and Jason Schnee. I also know of at least 6 other former Cactus Shadows employees that left over the years due to similar administration behaviors described above. I will not name their names because I do not have permission to do so. End quote. Staff report that their emails to follow up with HR were ignored until today after they sent these emails that I'm sharing today. They did not feel like this was a coincidence. Another staff member expressed similar concern, stating that they rarely receive responses from HR and are often redirected to Sarah Barella or Patty Jensen, even when the concerns involve their conduct. Staff members report that HR fails to maintain confidentiality and that their ongoing concerns raised over several years remain unresolved. In the last board meeting, we heard from Alexa Hamilton as she referenced the nitpicking that teachers and staff face, and more specifically, the disrespect from leadership at Cactus Shadows. She went on to say that Cactus Shadows lost Kupo, Erickson, Lindbergh, and Denisa Gianni as a result of the mistreatment. Enough is enough. Staff, parents, students in our community deserves better, and we are demanding better. There is a distinction between isolated, poor decisions made by leadership and the ongoing patterns of misconduct shown year after year. We will no longer ignore these behaviors or the continued high staff turnover. These administrators have had ample opportunity to correct their behaviors. Instead, they have chosen to respond by attempting to silence, intimidate, and dismiss these valid concerns. I believe that through their actions, they have shown this community that they have no intention of exuding good character or creating an appropriate work environment for our staff, which in turn has a direct impact on students and parents. Resolution should be equal to the egregious behaviors from these administrators. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Susheta Shah, and there will be 9 minutes allotted for this speaker.
Hello. I really wasn't planning on speaking today, but as the last couple of days, things have transpired that have compelled me to come forward and speak. It is very difficult for me because I do have attachments to people, and I've been, as you guys know, been in this district a long time. So in reference to the emails that were sent, I have to share some personal related experiences. Dr. Jensen called me multiple times recently to meet. We finally met on September 29th. She stated that Dr. Hendrickson conducted and completed an investigation in Cactus Shadows High School on hostile environment and found no hostile environment, and specifically mentioned that no current staff had been yelled at by anybody. Per the emails you received, they have details of hostility and details of being yelled at. I discovered later that day, after I met Dr. Jensen, that not everyone in the front office was interviewed. So the investigation was incomplete and inaccurate. This means there was some, and I hate to say this, falsification on the investigation by the district office. Dr. Jensen also told me that I should not be having staff at my house for any other reason than having a party, and I should not be discussing anything concerning Cactus Shadows. I'm sorry, but she has no right to tell me who I can have at my house and what we can discuss. Everyone has the right to discuss any issues they have at work. We discuss things with our friends all the time. What's the difference? I have known these people for years, and they have been confiding in me since the last school year about the hostile work environment. This is not something new. I was not conducting an investigation or instigating or creating negativity or working against the district, as Dr. Jensen said I was. I was frankly insulted. We cannot ignore the issues in our schools that this was driving staff and students away. I'm here to fight for a positive learning environment, as funding is not our only issue. As some of you know, I'm on PTO president. I've been on PTOs for many years. I'm also on the capital fundraising committee. I am here to help the school. I fight for every single bond and override. I put myself out there. Dr. Jensen also made a comment that so many kids have 504s, and all you need is a hangnail to get one. I felt this was incredibly insensitive and rude after I shared how many years it took my son to get a 504 at the last meeting I spoke to you all. From kindergarten until he got into freshman year was the first time he got a 504, which he was being denied. If anyone doubts the validity of what I'm saying, I actually have it recorded. Regarding the EOC, Mrs. Brella told me on September 11th in a meeting that not one student scored better than a 20%. So they did not learn anything in their off-campus classes. This is what she told me. But the school refuses to release the scores. Feedback is an essential part of learning, and if we are denied scores, how can students see what areas they need to focus on? Cactus Shadows, specifically Mr. Schnee and Mrs. Brella, have violated these students' rights to their test scores. Multiple parents have asked, and the school has not complied. This is a violation of FERPA. Also, Mrs. Brella and Dr. Jensen stated the counselors were at a meeting in November 2024 when the policy change on the EOC was implemented. They, along with Mr. Schnee, have told the parents that question the sudden policy enforcement that the counselors are the ones that did not communicate. But per the emails you received with proof, the counselors were were not told of the enforcement of the EOC until late July. I understand the fear the staff has of retaliation and hostile environment, as I've experienced it as well. Dr. Jensen told me Mrs. Brella is upset with some of us on PTO, and Mrs. Brella has told my co-president she is not fit to be on PTO. We are parents first, and we have every right to speak up when our children are not being treated fairly or issues at our school will affect them. My son is already on his 4th counselor as a junior. Losing counselors and teachers due to the hostile environment is a negative impact to all of our students. We really need to work hard to fix things at Cactus Shadows. It's what keeps our students in our district. And I mean, I'll say personally, I get along with Mrs. Brella. We talk all the time about PTO stuff and things at the school. I reply to her in a timely manner, and I'm always cordial with her. You can ask her, and I hate saying all these things, but this is what's going on. And I hope there's some kind of corrective action that happens. Thank you.
Okay, item 5, old business, we have none. Item 6.1, annual financial report for 2024-25, presented by Dr. Plotnick.
Administration moves that the governing board approve the annual financial report for the 2024-2025 school year as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 6.2, approval of the superintendent search company. At the September, I believe it was 23rd meeting, we had presentations that were made regarding the superintendent search from ASA, Hazard Young, Atta and Associates, and McPherson and Jacobson to facilitate the superintendent search. Does any board member want to make a motion regarding any of these search companies?
You say motion to go into comments?
No, a motion to, well, we can either have a motion to just discuss it, and then we need a second motion for a specific one, or we make a motion for a specific company, discuss it, and then change it if need be.
I'm going to motion for discussion.
President Greer, I believe you have to do what you said last there, motion to select a company, discuss, and if someone wants to amend that company, then there's a motion to amend.
Okay,
So
all right.
so we can discuss, we just got a motion, which
What do
company?
you, for which company? We just pick one and we'll discuss it, and then if we need,
Oh, okay. Well, let's start with ASA. We'll just go down the list.
okay, you've got, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so now we can discuss.
Okay. Well, as far as that one goes, I mean, I don't know what research everybody's done here, but ASA is the one that picked the superintendents for PV and Liberty that are no longer there. So that's a concern to me. The other concern is that the count for superintendent search going across the state right now is becoming highly concerning in and of itself. Mm-hmm. So I'm struggling with this whole decision because I think it's going to become a challenge. And we're going to spend money for a big challenge.
Yep.
Yep.
Look, we all agree.
It's that was a concerning point to me. There's pros and cons, of course. The fact that ASA is very local is good, and given sometimes the community's desire to have somebody that understands that community is important. But I'm also interested in some of these other places that might be able to look at something from outside I mean, imagine somebody from someplace else that has, in a different state or something, had a similar kind of district, and they can bring that experience here. So I'm interested in looking at that as well. So I'm not sure exactly where to go with this, except to say I'm not 100% behind ASA just yet either.
I think I have some of the same concerns as well.
ASA is a nonprofit. The other two are for-profit. So their approaches are going to be a little bit different.
Yep.
McPherson and Jacobson and HYA, they have professional recruiters on their staff, whereas ASA, the plus side to ASA is they're educators, so they understand education probably better than the other two when you whittle it down to the finer aspects of it. However, some of the challenges that we face are not truly unique to Cave Creek. Enrollment's an issue across the country, financial, budgetary issues. Those are all issues that are across the country. And so understanding who we are is important. Any one of these entities is going to do its due diligence and have focus groups or interviews or surveys to find out who we are, what we want. And so, from there, where do we go?
This is, yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
As I say, if you're saying pick one, I mean, my
Yeah,
favor right now is probably HYA. I mean,
Same.
McPherson and Jacobson is PV looked at them. That was one of their top choices. The HYA, the one that stuck out for me with that one is that we just got to be honest. We have a very tight knit community that, quite honestly, probably wants to hire the superintendent so that they can, own that one. I like the fact that they bring the community in a little bit more. That one of their talking points was like how they went about that, and I was like, okay, we kind of need that given our dynamic that we are a tight knit community, and we're going to have a lot of people that have an opinion. So that does intrigue me a little bit.
I agree. And some connections to McPherson and Jacobson have been in the media as well that I don't think our community needs. So I appreciate what HYA has to offer as well and kind of how they approach that.
I'm kind of leaning toward HYA, maybe not for the exact same reasons, but having been down this road before, McPherson and Jacobson, I don't want to use the word the gold standard, but they were a very well-respected search firm. And over the years, don't know what all has transpired, and, we're all human and we all make mistakes. I think that their reputation has been tarnished somewhat. For me, HYA comes into this as the fresh face. And
Correct.
they don't have any preconceived anything about who we are. And no, they're not a local entity, but that's okay. I mean, there are executives hired all over the country from recruiters that are in different states.
Correct.
And one of their, I forget what they call them, maybe the local recruiter, I think was based in Tucson though.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And I do like their reporting dashboard. Some of the things that
Yeah,
they
their
had that
portal.
made it. Yeah, the portal. It just makes it a lot easier to navigate this when we're going to be moving. Because the other reality is we need to make a decision too. Is if we go, we need to go now because everybody's going.
Right.
Dr. Plotnick, financially, any one of these firms is, we have the funds in our budget to cover any one of their fees?
President Gray, yes, we do.
Okay.
Like I said, the fact that HYA and McPherson and Jacobson both can do local and nationwide searches is good. The thing I really liked about McPherson and Jacobson was that 1 year involvement after the superintendent is hired and working collaboratively to work on the goals, because that's a huge piece of the puzzle, that if we have the person in from that start and go through that whole thing together, that's a huge deal. But I hear and respect the concerns there. So,
I mean, it's something we could ask.
yeah.
Yeah, and they did have some price matching depending on what information.
I'm sure everybody would like to generate some revenue, so I'm sure there's some opportunity to negotiate a little bit. Because I did like that too. That was the one thing that I liked. They did have McPherson had that warranty, if you will, so that was a nice warm fuzzy feeling. But at the same point in time, yeah, it's a juggling act.
But then you could turn that around and ask yourself, okay, why are they providing
Well,
a warranty?
that's
Have they
that's
not
100%. Yeah,
had
trust me.
a good track record? Not that I'm trying to be negative here.
No, but we have to be honest, because that is the fundamental problem. Superintendents are changing out. I mean, who's the longest standing superintendent in Arizona right now? Or even within a radius of us?
Is it the guy in Queen
It's Deer
Creek?
Valley. Which is kind of interesting.
How long's,
He's been there for like 16 years or something like that. Like,
Okay.
He's the longest standing. I mean, he even touts the fact, I've seen all these superintendents leave.
I was there his first year.
Remember where the average lifespan of a superintendent is 3 years and dropping.
yeah,
I mean, I do understand the why. I mean,
yeah.
nobody's knocking at the door, banging it down to be a superintendent right now.
So,
So-
are we
So, do we need
any
to?
close to amending a motion or
I
voting on
amend.
this one?
I amend that we look at how HYA.
Remember, we'll have to do a motion to amend the motion, take a vote, or take a second and then vote, and then a new motion for HYA.
So,
Make
what
a
Dr.
Motion to
Hendrick-
amend the motion.
Motion to amend the motion.
So moved.
Then we'll take a
Second.
vote.
Okay.
Okay.
All in
Aye.
favor of amending the motion?
Yep. Aye.
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 Okay,
Now I need to make a new motion.
yes.
Correct.
Anybody else want to take this one?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I motion that we look at HYA.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
All right.
Do we need further discussion on this?
But, you know, the thing that, again, we talked about how, like, ASA had, you know, educators and all that, but a lot of the people that were associated with HYA also were former superintendents or administration, so I think that that is a plus as well.
So if we vote on this,
That's who's going to be our
That's-
search
that's it.
firm. We're basically, if we vote yes, then we
Okay.
hire them.
We need
Member
to
Gr-
get many more.
but do we get to negotiate a little bit? Because I know I agree with Member Fortney is like, hey, let's squeeze this for all it's worth and see what kind of little extra warranty bumpers we can get.
Because we did get some questions responded to, but I know they needed information back from us as far as the price matching and that.
Yep.
sort of-
Correct, yeah. So I'm not sure where Member Dolezal is with kind of the price matching. I did see the responses to the questions that you guys had that they responded to. So just to be crystal clear, the motion was a little fuzzy. When you do vote, you're voting to select one of these companies. In this case, the motion is for HYA. For the search company, I think you can still negotiate and come back to the table, and if you want to move forward with the contract at that point.
So are you good with that?
I'm good with it. Again, this is not a
No, I'm
person
just
deal here.
asking, you're there, so I'm kind of looking at the group here. You, meaning all of you.
I see how this goes. If this goes out, hey, it was Member Moore.
I mean,
Stop laughing.
we can vote yes, that we haven't signed on the dotted line with them. We we'll look at their contract, and once they bring the contract back, if we don't come to terms, then
We're back to the
Make
drawing
another
board.
motion.
we make another,
Okay.
we come back to do this again.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm good with that if you guys are good with that.
I'm
Sounds
good
great.
with that.
All right, so all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. All right, so HYA is it. Item 7.1, upcoming calendar events presented by Dr. Hendrickson.
President Greer, as I mentioned earlier, this is homecoming week for Cactus Shadows High School, with it culminating with the Friday night game at 7 p.m. Over in the on the new field over there. So we encourage all of our community members, staff members, and parents to come out and join. October 22nd will be our next CCUSD Business Partners Breakfast at the Holland Center from 7:30 to 9. And then finally, we're doing a community-wide trunk or treat involving all of our schools on October 24th from 6 to 8 in the Cactus Shadows parking lot. And then I'd be remiss not to say that what Dr. Jensen mentioned earlier, this is Principals Month, Principals Appreciation Month. So I know she's doing some things to appreciate all of our principals and all the hard work that they do. So
Awesome. Item 8, adjournment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned, and it is 7:50.